Right, welcome to number 2 of this series of short and thought-provoking videos that I'm shooting throughout this week, one a day, where I'm hoping that if you followed it through, that, well, we might all end up coming to exactly the same conclusion at the end of it. And, well, maybe we do or maybe we don't. But if anybody wants to discuss any of the contents of these videos further in a safe environment, please feel free to join us in a private Facebook group. There's a link below in the show notes. Just press more. Now, for today's video, I want to start by saying that it's my opinion that, once again, right from the very beginning, that we've never really understood the complexity and the difficulty of the equation that we're trying to solve. And the question that I would have for today's video is, has that had a majorly detrimental effect on golf coaching, our ability to improve and problem solve? So to try and be able to understand this, I'd like you to imagine that you're riding a bike down a road, you're good at riding a bike and you're going very fast, 35, 40 miles an hour. And of course you're pressing either side very hard down on the pedals. And then you approach a corner and you hit a bump, but you stay upright and you fly out the other side. Now imagine if somebody asked you, how were you able to ride so fast, go around a corner, over a bump, and still stay upright at the end of it? Now, of course, if we actually did stop and think about it for a second, we'd realize that we've got absolutely no idea. But even if we did think that we knew something, if we were to share it with somebody else, it wouldn't help them anyway. So in order to be able to explain this, I want you to imagine another scenario, an everyday scenario, an everyday thing that we do, which is walking. Now, imagine if you were somebody that, for whatever reason, you couldn't walk. So you wanted a bit of information to help you learn to walk. And you said to somebody, excuse me, but can you tell me what angle do you have your feet as you walk? Do you have them splayed out, straight, or turned inwards? Now, I don't know if you'd be the same as me, but, well, I literally would have absolutely no idea. And what I'd do is I'd find myself looking down to see what angle my feet were. And, oh, they might be slightly splayed out. Now, as I see things, it's almost as if this might not be technically correct, but it is the reality. And it's almost as if us, as our ecosystem that we are, there's two people involved. And there's this person first that we're completely aware of. We know exactly who we are, and me that's talking to you today. And then there's this other person that's taking care of a lot of things that I have absolutely no idea about. In other words, I don't know how I rode that bike round the corner, and I have no idea how I'm walking. Of course, there is a certain amount of communication between these two people in my body, because I can decide whether I want to walk fast or upright or whatever. I can have a certain influence, but in reality, the actual motion, I know nothing about how I'm able to walk and how I'm able to do all these things. So potentially, I might only know maybe 1% of what's going on. Now, if we can relate that to golf, we stop and think about it, how we take this little tiny golf club, strike this golf ball, if we're just a tiny fraction out, the effects are, well, extremely negative, let's put it that way. But some of us are able to perform it with unbelievable levels of precision. But the point is, like I said, we possibly are only aware of about 1% of this equation that we're trying to solve. Now, we can see that very much if we were, say, to take somebody like Rory McIlroy, who's, well, fantastic golfer, and we see him striking the ball incredibly every single day of the week. However, you know, if we were to ask Rory, oh, how are you able to do that? And he was able to tell us all these things. Now, the next thing you might see, a couple of weeks later, you might see him in the last round of a major tournament, and all of a sudden he's hitting some poor shots and he's hitting the ball a bit all over the place. Now, if we went to Rory and we said, Rory, but all you've got to do is do those things that you've told us to do, and you'll be fine. Now, of course, that doesn't work. There's all this stuff going on that he has absolutely no idea about. So we could look at this in a very different way. We've never, like I said, understood the difficulty and the complexity of the problem that we're trying to solve, which might sound quite negative in many ways. But once we understand that, well, there just can't be an answer in golf. There can't be. There's just way, way too many variables, and most of them we actually know nothing about. So all we can potentially do is do the right kind of practice, obviously, and try to know enough about, or put enough pieces of the puzzle in this jigsaw puzzle that we're doing, that enables us to potentially play well most of the time. But because of all these unknown variables that we'll never know about, it's impossible. We can never get a final answer. So this idea, when we go onto the internet, and somebody's telling you they have the answer, it's not possible. It's never happened in the game of golf. So really, instead of looking for an answer, what we're trying to do is just to kind of gain little bits of knowledge. And as we'll see coming up, it would have to be very personal to just ourselves anyway. And of course, the more little bits of knowledge that we gain, the more chance we've got of getting these little bits of jigsaw puzzle in place, and we get enough to potentially play well most of the time. That's all we can ever hope for. So all of a sudden, instead of us thinking that, oh, if I just get my backswing right, or if I just learn sequencing and to lead with something, we stop that way of thinking and we get into a way of thinking where we understand that we're never going to get that final answer, never going to happen, but we're always trying to move forward with a bit of new learning. So there's the question that I'm going to ask today is, we go into the pro, we're looking on the internet for that answer. Has that affected our thinking? And should we instead be in an environment where we understand that we'll never get the answer, but we're trying to learn something new about ourselves, and we're creating an environment where we've always got that opportunity? So that's it for today's video, and I'm going to say thanks for listening. Hope you tune into all these videos throughout the week and see if we come to the same conclusion. So thanks for listening today. See you in the next video.